All right, so welcome back. In this lesson, what we're going to do is look at how to delete a post. So we've already got a post function set up right here. You know, it's a post request with a route defined for blog slash post delete slash whatever post ID they're trying to delete. We know how all this works already, so let's just jump right into it. So if they send a post request, how do they do that? Well, they do that by submitting a form here with post form. So how might we do this for the post delete? Well, we need to send a form somehow. And we've already seen here in the post form this little input here that's just a submit field. And this is already a pretty small form. So let's go ahead and copy this. And let's go to post itself. So with post, it says this is the details for a certain post, blah, blah, blah. Here's the title. Well, how about we say, here's a form. And this form, here we're always going to have a post. So we don't need to say if there's a post, because when they're getting the details for a post, they're going to have a post guaranteed, right? So we're just going to append the post ID to the end of this route here. And we don't want to send a post request to post form. We want to send a post request to post delete, right? So we're going to do that to post request to post delete. However, we don't even need this input field here. All we need is a way for them to submit this form so they can send off that request. So there we go. They now have a way to submit a form. Now, if we reload, though, this little button says submit. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. What are they submitting? It might make more sense if the value of this input was delete. Oh, delete. There we go. So now that button should say delete. Well, that makes sense. It's like, okay, so if I want to delete this post, I hit this delete button. And if they go ahead and do that, nothing happened. We still have the post right there. And that is because what it did is it came over here. It still printed off this deleted post using post ID. Remember our placeholder text here. It printed that off, so we know that our form worked. We sent a successful form to here. So how do we handle this now? How do we delete something? Well, previously, when we were trying to update something, we had to go fetch that post ID, or the correct post, right? So let's go ahead and grab all of that logic. Let's plug it in down here. So we get a post by ID by doing the same search we've done with this list comprehension. If that post by ID list length is 1, well, we found a singular post. Excellent. We know the index that we now want to use. Well, how do we delete at that index? Well, in Python, you might have guessed, it's pretty easy. You just use the del keyword for delete, and we want to delete posts at that post index. So there we go. And that's all it takes. So now that we're deleting the post at the right post index, we can go ahead and return a redirect to the blog. And everything should stay the same. So let's come over here, reload our server, post 1, right? Okay, we want to delete this post. Let's go ahead and hit delete here. And there we go. We only have post 2 now. If I delete post 2, ooh, look, it says post 3 cannot be found. Well, why is that? Well, we can go ahead and we know that what happened was we clicked on this read more link and it sent us to /blog/3. So why is that an error? Well, since we know where we sent that GET request, let's go ahead and look at this. Okay. We say the global post equals this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, post ID equals an integer version of post ID. And then we check to see if the post ID is less than or equal to the length of post. Well, remember, that's the wrong logic. That was the logic back when we were assuming the post ID was the index of the post in a just a list of titles, right? Well, now we have these complex objects where they store an ID on the dictionary itself, right? So we don't, that logic doesn't make sense anymore. So let's go ahead and grab the logic from down here. Let's grab all this same logic and we are going to plug it in right here. All right. And now we can delete this else because that referred to the last if statement we just had. So now we have some different logic, right? Same logic. We look for a post with a given post ID. If we have it, yada, yada. So we don't want to send them to post form, we want to send them to post.html because this route right here is just trying to show them the details. This is the post detail route. So let's save that now that we're using the updated logic. Let's go ahead and reload again, and looks like we had some error there. So let's reload our server so it's up and running. Reload, and there we go. This is the details for post ID number 3. The title is post 2. We can go ahead and hit that delete button. It works still, but since we restarted our server, we have post 1 back again. And there we go. We deleted both posts. So now it says, how about adding one? We can go ahead and add one. My post. There we go. And it says post 1 cannot be found. Well, it's a good thing we tried to create this new post and found this new error. Let's go ahead and look at why that is. So if we come over here, it looks like when we send a post request to the blog post form, we know this logic is right because we did it before, but here let's check the logic for creating a brand new post. So the post title equals this, okay. The post ID equals the length of the post plus 1. So in this case, the post ID would now be 1 because we deleted everything before we did this. So that logic just right off the bat is wrong. So let's go ahead and fix that logic. We might need some sort of global post. This is a bad way to create your post IDs, but it's what we're doing for right now. So we're just going to do it. So posts created equals 0, right? And when we're creating a new post, we should have access to global. Since we already have one global here, we'll just say posts created, right? So now it knows we are accessing the global posts and the global posts created. That's just a counter to tell us how many posts have been created so far. It starts off at 0, or really I guess it should start off at 2 because we have 2 posts here starting off. So let's say our post ID should be posts created plus 1. Okay, so that gives us a new ID every time. Even if we delete and retract, we won't get duplicate post IDs there. So the new post, we give it a post ID and a post title, then we append it to posts. And then we redirect them to that new post ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and check and see if everything got fixed here. Let's just go ahead and go back to the blog. So we have post 1, post 2. Let's go ahead and go to blog/post form. There we go. And let's say my post, submit. Okay, details for 3, post 2. Interesting. And the reason for that is because, see, this is another reason you shouldn't use this type of logic here. The ID here needs to be the number of the post. So let's go ahead and change that back to 2. Let's go back to our blog. Reload again. Okay, we're in the same state. We're in the beginning state. Let's test again. This is part of building some sort of application like this, right? A bunch of testing. So my post, we go ahead and submit. Okay, so post 3 cannot be found. And that's interesting because it should be, right? We said that post was going to be the post ID here. Now, what the problem here is that we have post created plus 1. What's that? Well, that's an integer. And we're storing everything as strings. So it's saying, well, I couldn't find a post where the post ID was the string version of the character 3. We have one there where the integer is 3, but that's not the same to Python. So we need to cast this calculation to a string before we save it as the post ID. And I think that should solve our problem. So let's go ahead, let's go back to the blog again. Here we go, reload. Okay, so now let's go to post form and create a new post, my post. There we go, submit. And there we go, details for 3, the title is post, or my post. There we go, we go to blog and we see it got rendered here. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete everything, delete, and let's add one, just make sure everything's working. My post 2, enter, details for 3. Oh, that's right. After we use how many posts created, we need to say, okay, well, post created needs to get incremented to plus equals 1. There we go, so that should fix that problem. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's reload. Post 3 couldn't be found because it reloaded the server. Let's go ahead and delete. Let's add a post. So my post, there we go, details for post 3. Let's go ahead and go back to post form again. Let's try to, okay, new post, details for post 4. Okay, so every time we create a post, we're incrementing that post ID number and everything's working out, it looks like. So That's pretty much it. That's the fundamentals. You can see here we are able to edit things. Right now it's kind of hard and tricky to go to the right ones, right? So post form slash 2 doesn't work because we deleted the second post, the post with ID number 2, but we do have one with 4 and 3. So if we go to 4, well, it tells us we're updating the existing post, and there we go. But we have it there, so we can create things, we can update things. We obviously can read them back either in the form of details or in the form of a list of them, right? So that's create, read, update, and if we go to a specific one, we can delete. So that's all the major operations you need to do with an object when you are building some sort of application like that. So hopefully with this, you can go ahead and you can stylize it however you want. You can add a body, some content to these posts. You can add an author to these posts. You can start using maybe some object-oriented stuff. You can use a database to store things permanently, because if you notice here, if I go ahead and shut down the server, well, since everything's stored in memory here, if I reload again, and I reload this homepage, well, we're back to post 1, post 2, because that's what this array started off as. And really, it should be nothing to start off with. And then we add things as we go. And this should be 0, right? So there we go. So we really want to start off with nothing and then add things and blah, 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 blah. So adding one, great. And we can do all those things. So you can spice this up. You can add more text fields for things like author. You can store authors. You can use a database. You can style it up. Do whatever you'd like, but that's the basics of using blog to create that's the basics of using Bottle to create a blog application or any other type of application that needs to do CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete. Now, in future videos, I actually am going to go ahead and do some styles, and then we're going to do a database as well. So if you want to see how I do that, follow along. We're going to do a little bit of object-oriented stuff to break things up into component files. We're also going to see how to kind of avoid this copy-paste duplication between all our index files when the top of it's the same every time, the bottom's the same every time. And our HTML files, we can use some includes, just include stuff instead of copy-pasting every time. We're going to see how to do that. We're going to see how to break stuff up into other files and include the routes that we need for a given thing. So if your website does more than just a blog, then you might not want to mess up or muddy up the file here of your app.py with your blog routes. You might want to just include your blog routes, right? So you got to break those out into a separate file, and then you got to maybe break out your post into an object, a class file, right? So we're going to look at how to do those things, and then I think we're also going to look at how to do all of that same stuff but with a database. So the data is persisted when you reload the application like we did earlier. The data is persisted and it stays the same even if you shut down your server and restart. 2 weeks later, all your data is going to be there as long as you didn't delete your database. So we're going to look at how to do all of that in future videos, but these are the basics, and I hope these helped you a lot. See you guys next time.